So this video isn't about the the eviction that I did, the motion to vacate judgment with the warrant of restitution. So what y'all gotta realize is that as a representative of your name, you're outside the United States. So when you're outside the United States is like, okay, say I'm at the door of my apartment. The United States is the apartment. Me standing outside means I'm standing outside the United States. So when I'm looking inside the apartment, which is United States, I know that the United States is three things considered under representative: the IRS, the Department of Treasury, and the Federal Reserve. Now, a lot of people want to say accepted for value isn't real. Now, accepted for value is real. The problem is you cannot use this as a U.S. citizen. You can only use this as a representative of a U.S. citizen. The reason why you can only use this as a representative of a U.S. citizen is because as a representative, you got one corporation, one trust, one EIN number that doesn't come from the IRS. You have one bank account. You have one security account. Basically, you have one of everything. All right, so I'll put it like this. A lot of y'all have corporations that know how corporations run. And y'all know that. But then when your name is a corporation, y'all don't understand how your name is ran like a corporation. So, like I said, corporations got three things: employees, representatives, and the attorneys. The representatives are the CEOs, the CFOs, the attorneys are the lawyers, obviously, and everybody else is an employee. Even if they represent the company, they're not a CEO or CFO, so they're not a representative. So, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're an employee of your name. But if you're the representative, you're the representative of your name. Now, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're an employee. All employees get lawyers, unless they're ready to take it to court, self-represent it. Basically, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're a government employee, so you're going to get a lawyer. Even if you have a corporation, your corporation has to have a lawyer attached to it. So, the attorneys are always there. If you're the representative of your name, you are your own attorney, because you'll realize that you're doing contract law with the state and federal government. Even if you're doing business with a corporation is attached to the government, so you're still doing business with the government. So, when you have a security interest in your birth certificate, that's the whole point of accepted for value. Now, the reason why you have a security interest in your birth certificate is because the United States is in debt. All you had to do is type in United States national debt in Google, and it'll tell you how much the national debt is. So because there's a debt, there's the creditors. So the United States is a debtor. The United States has two creditors: the Federal Reserve and the representatives in the Republic of the United States, which are the people in the 10th Amendment. So the people in the 10th Amendment are creditors, and the Federal Reserve are creditors. Now, as a representative of your name, you have an unlimited amount of money. When we're born, that unlimited amount of money that we get is given to the government, and the government gives it back to us in the form of a Social Security number. Now, that Social Security number is attached to the bank account. That bank account is on the back of your Social Security card. That bank account that's on the back of your Social Security card, you cannot use as a U.S. citizen. You have to use it as a representative of a U.S. citizen, because U.S. citizens and the representative pay their bills differently. When you pay as a representative, you're using a commercial right. When you use Federal Reserve notes, checks, money orders, debits, out your account, whatever, you're paying as a U.S. citizen, which is a privilege. So accepted for value is a commercial right, and paying your bills the way we pay our bills now is a privilege. So if you don't know what your rights are, you don't have any. So as a representative, you have full rights. As a U.S. citizen, you only have privileges. So I have a security agreement, a UCC-1, and they're both on my birth certificate. Now, we're set up like cars. A car has, when you title your car, the state is the creditor and your name is the debtor. So when I don't title my car, there's no debt. But when they take my car without it being titled, I become the creditor and they become the debtor. So when you get a car and you have a car loan, is basically set up to where the bank is the creditor and you're the debtor. Once you pay the bank off, then the debt's gone. So while the debt for the United States exists, then as a representative, you're the creditor. If you're the creditor, you need to have a security agreement. Once you have a security agreement, then you're going to set up a UCC1. Now, the security agreement is between your name and you. Your name is a legal entity, and you are a man or woman. So my security agreement is between Khalid or Willie, whichever one. It doesn't matter. Like I said, my name was Willie before. Like Willie, Khalid, I'm still the same person. Y'all don't realize the name is owned by the government. So I could change my name 100 times. I'm still going to be the representative of whatever name I change it to. So basically, outside of that, I have a security agreement between Khalid, which is my name, which is a legal entity, and me, which is the representative. Now, by my name being a corporation, I'm held harmless by that corporation as the representative. So when I fill out my security agreement, my UCC1, I have to open up my Treasury account. Now, it's not a Treasury Direct account. It's called a UCC Contract Trust account. Now, mind you, the United States is going to say this is sovereign citizen stuff. The reason why they're saying that is because a sovereign citizen is a U.S. citizen. I'm just sovereign. I'm the representative of the U.S. citizen. I'm the beneficiary of the U.S. citizen. So I'm sovereign. Why? Because the people in the 10th Amendment are sovereign, just like the state and federal government. The state and federal sovereignty comes from the representatives and the people in the 10th Amendment, which are the same people having sovereignty to begin with. Our sovereignty comes from God. Our rights come from God. The government has to uphold our rights. The government cannot take your rights away or violate it. When you exercise your rights, that's when you start realizing that the government will make you fight for your rights. But it's a winning fight. So if you're willing to fight, at least you know you're going to win. You just had to know the procedure and know that it's contract law. You'll realize it's contract law by the answers they give you. So once you have the security agreement, the UCC1 in your Treasury account, you're going to have accepted for value stamp. Now, the warrant of restitution is an offer. It's an offer made by the leasing office, the lawyer for the leasing office, and the judge for the Baltimore City District Court. So when I get the warrant of restitution, it's going to be 2 signatures on there. It's going to be the signature of the lawyer and the signature of the judge. Now, when I get the warrant of restitution, I'm going to use my accepted for value stamp from my birth certificate. Now, there's 2 types of accepted for value stamps. You got one that's on the back of your Social Security card and one that's from your Treasury account that holds your birth certificate. So I use my Treasury account, the one that holds my birth certificate for the warrant of restitution. So the reason why you need to have an account is because you pay your bills with an account. The bank account on the back of your Social Security card, that's an account. The account that you open up with the Treasury, that's an account. So you decide how much the money is when you file a 1040V before the year is out. Now, I don't want to get too much off topic for real. I'm going to explain that later. But I use my accepted for value stamp the warrant of restitution. When I stamp the warrant for restitution, I sign it. I put in a motion to vacate judgment saying that based on the paperwork being signed accepted for value, the mailbox rule or the postal rule, whichever one, res judicata, stare decisis, full faith and credit clause, the contract clause, the reserve power clause, the due process clause, the equal protection clause. Basically, you have to refer to what you're using in order to show why you're doing what you're doing. So on my accepted for value stamp, it references HJR 192. And my motion to vacate judgment, it references my constitutional protections and a contract rule, which is the mailbox rule, which means that acceptance is effective as soon as it's posted, which means mail. So as soon as I mail that motion to vacate judgment with that accepted for value stamp, once I put that in the mail, it's accepted. So they have to rebut that motion to vacate judgment and that accepted for value warrant of restitution. Now, when the warrant of restitution is signed by the lawyer and the judge, The lawyer is the creditor, the judge is the creditor, the leasing office is the creditor, and the tenant is the debtor. When I stamp it, accept it for value, and sign it, I'm the creditor and the tenant's the creditor. The lawyer's the debtor, the judge is the debtor, and the leasing office is the debtor. So I realized that the United States is based on creditors and debtors, and it's about having security interest. So when the lawyer and judge sign it, they saying they got a security interest in that warrant of restitution. When I stamp and sign it, that says I got a security interest in that warrant of restitution. So now they have to rebut that motion to vacate judgment, which is based on the facts and the evidence. What is going to happen? I'm going to get another paper saying that the motion was moot. I'm going to keep getting these motions being moot because it's nothing to grant or deny. As soon as I signed it, it shows that I have a security interest in that warrant of restitution, and it's nothing that the courts can do. I don't have to send in the affidavit, the security agreement, the UCC one. I don't have to send that in anymore because it's already on record. It's the same court case. It's like depositing a check in the bank account. I deposit those papers in the account, so now all I have to do is reference them. The judges want to see the whole record and know that that accepted for value stamp is based on that affidavit, that security agreement, and that UCC one. So the tenant is held harmless. Even if the apartment is not in my name, the tenant is held harmless because I'm held harmless. Basically, UCC says that if I stamp that paper accepted for value and sign it, I'm guaranteeing collection from the Department of the Treasury. So the liability is taken off the tenant and put on the Department of the Treasury. Now, like I said, you could send this video to the Department of Treasury, the government, the FBI. You can send this video to whoever. Send them all my videos. They're not going to respond because they know that I'm right. There's no point of responding if they know that I'm right, because if they say I'm wrong, they had to send an affidavit saying I'm wrong, and they're not going to do that. So basically, accepted for value is based on endorsements. I used to work at a bank, so I know how endorsements work. It's a qualified endorsement on an instrument. The warrant of restitution is a financial instrument because it's signed the same way check has two signatures and the money order has two signatures. That warrant of restitution has two signatures. When I stamp it and sign it, it has three signatures. So at the end of the day, whatever bill is the basis that y'all don't see, a representative sees that there's a bill behind every letter. Now, like I said, I know these videos be kind of short, but you gotta do the research on your own. Once you do the research, after a while, you'll start seeing what I'm saying. But there's a bill. The same way there's a bill behind every criminal charge, there's a bill behind every notice. There's a bill behind that warrant of restitution. When I stamp and sign, I paid that bill. The motion is moot. I stay here rent-free. I could do this with any bill. They gonna fight me on it. I don't care about them fighting me on it. I'm gonna win. So at the end of the day, everything is under penalty of perjury on my end, and nothing's under penalty of perjury on their end. So I'm guaranteed to win, unless they ready to provide me an affidavit, which I know for a fact that they won't do. So for people saying that accepted for value is fake if you're a sovereign citizen, and a sovereign citizen is a U.S. citizen. So when you're a representative of a U.S. citizen, you're not a U.S. citizen. So as me being a representative, I can use accepted for value. That's the way we're supposed to be paying our bills. The way we're paying our bills right now is because of a lack of knowledge. If you knew this, you would never pay rent. You would never pay rent. Paying for it is paying for it. The Federal Reserve notes is backed by the same, I put it like this. Every Federal Reserve note has the same letter of 8 numbers that's on the back of your Social Security card. Look at the back of your Social Security card. You will see a letter of 8 numbers. Pull out a dollar bill out your pocket. You're going to see a letter of 8 numbers. So they all backed by accounts. So you can use your Federal Reserve account or your Treasury account. Then when you use your Federal Reserve account, when there's a slip at the bottom, that type of bill that you get. But the warrant of restitution is no slip at the bottom, so I use my birth certificate stamp. So once I stamp it, it shows I'm the creditor. Every time I stamp that, that shows I'm the creditor. The whole point in life is to be a creditor. The Bible says be a lender, not a borrower. A U.S. citizen is a borrower because the United States is a borrower. The United States is in debt. The United States citizen is in debt. The representative of the United States citizen isn't in debt. And because the United States is in debt, the United States is taking money from the U.S. citizens to pay the United States government's debt. And this is a fact. If the creditor of the United States is the Federal Reserve, and they say that they can print infinite amount of money, like I said, if the Federal Reserve is a bank, and banks can't issue loans off their own credit, yet the Federal Reserve is a bank, and the Federal Reserve can print an infinite amount of money, and there's a Federal Reserve account on the back of our Social Security card, that means that the Federal Reserve Bank is allowed to print infinite money because the people in the 10th Amendment have an unlimited amount of money, and it was given to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has our credit, and it can print an unlimited amount of money. The Federal Reserve is laughing at us. The United States is a jail, but they laughing at us too because we paying the bills. So at the end of the day, if you're not willing to take the United States, leave them on the hook, and take yourself off the hook, then you're a slave. If you never see freedom, don't say you're free. So, I guarantee you, I'll send you, like I said, if you look through the comments of my videos, you'll see the case number for this case that I'm going through. You can look it up, and it's not dealing with Walker Muse. Walker Muse was me suing them. That wasn't even about an eviction. But if you look in the comments, you'll see the case number. You can look it up. I've already beat the first warrant of restitution. I'm going to show you the video showing me beating the second warrant of restitution. After that, y'all just clearly trolling. So, like I said, I usually say prove me wrong, but I'm going to let you know right now, I'm going to get the warrant of restitution. I'm going to sign it, put in a motion to vacate judgment. When I put in a motion to vacate judgment, the court is going to say a motion to moot, and I'm here rent free. And after that, there's nothing else to say. If y'all want to troll, that just speaks on y'all and speaks nothing on me. So, just wait. The next video is coming.